Can you imagine a world where there are lots and lots and lots of successful purveyors of customized ad units? Or is this fundamentally going to be a game of chicken where only 2 or 3 large-scale survivors remain?
That's an excellent question. A Darwinian shakeout, perhaps?
I mean, part of the argument you just made was an argument, 10, 12 years ago against Apple Computer, where people said, Microsoft makes it, and there's 40 or 50 different hardware makers, and they're all making different things and serving all these different clients, and that Apple's closed, vertically integrated model would never work. And now they're the biggest tech company in the world because vertical integration actually lets you make better quality products.
But that's an example of a shakeout, a Darwinian shakeout, where there are 2 or 3 survivors.
Right, and when you look at how many survivors there are in terms of the railroad tracks, Facebook, Twitter, there's a few of them that have the majority of the scale. And when you look at what a site like BuzzFeed does, we make content for the social web. We're making content we don't tell advertisers, make content for the BuzzFeed audience. We tell advertisers, launch content on BuzzFeed across Facebook, across Twitter, across a few of these different platforms. When a new one emerges like Pinterest, we just integrate that into what we're doing, and now brands can get the benefit of Pinterest from working with a social content creator like BuzzFeed.
So, okay, so take this further, because I think there's an enormous insight there, which is that, okay, the networks of the future, today, really, it's not even the future, are Twitter and Facebook and a handful of others. And you're the agencies that are feeding them? I mean, in effect, you're doing the creative that's allowing them to be broadcast through these large...
absolutely.
And working with agencies as well. Agencies that aren't obstructionist and that create great content, we love working with.
Who would be obstructionist? What type of agency would be obstructionist?
Like a Droga5, for example.
Can I touch on that point for a minute? I do think, I agree that is part of the issue, and I certainly think for agencies this is a huge issue, right? If we all come at you with develop this highly customized set of content pieces that work on my platform and then ultimately work on the social web, I get that, but I do think we are at the beginning of this golden age of publisher or media company and agency work. And we see some of it, we see green shoots of it happening now where the conversations are what years ago we wanted them to be, where we all get in a room together and say, who's your audience? What do I need to do to communicate with them in a meaningful way? And then how am I going to be sure that that's going to scale to Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn where your audience really is? And I think we're just at the beginning of that, but I'm not sure it will be only those players. I think maybe it's about publishers and agencies or media enterprises and agencies working more closely together than they have in years for the solution set.
And Randall,
a little bit, because this is really, really interesting. So but what you're saying, and I'm not disagreeing, I'm putting words in your mouth, I just want to see how it works, is that Twitter, Facebook, a handful of others are the standards. What's custom is the content that's going into, and that you're the content creators, content inspirers, content partners. So in the same, if we're going to draw an analogy here, NBC, CBS, and ABC were the standards, and they used the same standard, the 30-second spot. But Chiat Day, Ogilvy, Leo Burnett, and on were the content creators feeding those standardized networks. But
it's more complicated than that, because to succeed, you need more than content. You need technology, you need real-time stats, you need to understand psychology of how people share things and have that get built into your platform, into the way the share buttons work. So there's there's art to it, but there's also science to it. And it's pretty clear that the big distribution channels have been built out, and there may be one or two late ones that take share, and maybe Facebook will make a terrible decision that they don't want people to share content on the web on Facebook anymore, but there's an innate desire to share interesting things with each other, and if one platform stops doing that, another one will emerge. So knowing how to make interesting content and publishing it on a platform where you actually have a good understanding of how it's being shared and why it's being shared are important. So I wish it would be easier if it was just content.